Have you ever gotten to the end of the day and wondered, did I really make the most of my time? It's this huge question we all ask ourselves. Well, today we're going to look for an answer in a pretty unexpected place, a poem that's over 150 years old but holds this timeless guide to what makes a day and a life truly meaningful. Let's get into it.
All right, so let's just start with that big fundamental question. When you look back on your day, what's the thing that makes you feel like, yeah, that was a good day? What's the real measure of a day being well spent?
A lot of the time, we probably think about our personal wins. Stuff like grabbing your favorite food or having a great time out with friends. And hey, those things are awesome, for sure. But what about the other stuff? The selfless acts, like genuinely making someone else happy or helping somebody out. The poem we're about to dive into argues that that's where the real value is hidden.
So this poem we're looking at, it gives us a definition of a good day that is just incredibly clear and really, really powerful. And even though it comes from a totally different time, its message feels more important than ever in our crazy, fast-paced world. But, to really get the poem's message, it really helps to understand who wrote it and what the world was like back then. That context gives the words a much deeper and honestly, a more urgent meaning.
So the author was one of the absolute titans of the Victorian era, a celebrated writer who went by the name George Eliot. Okay, now get this, here's a really fascinating twist. George Eliot wasn't a George at all. It was the pen name for a woman named Mary Ann Evans. See, she was writing in an era where female authors just weren't taken as seriously, so she chose a man's name to make sure her powerful words would be judged for what they were, not by who wrote them.
And her world, the Victorian age, was a time of really stark contrasts. You had incredible wealth right next to the most extreme poverty. Child labor was everywhere. We're talking about kids working brutal 16-hour days. So for writers like Eliot, this wasn't just some background noise. They felt this deep moral responsibility to use their art to fight for a better, more compassionate world. And this poem, it's a perfect example of that mission.
So how does she make her point? Well, the poem's structure is brilliantly simple. It's basically a tale of two very different days, set side by side, forcing us to really think about which one we want to live. Okay, let's look at the first option. Eliot says that if you get to sunset and you can look back and find just one selfless act, just one kind word that helps soothe someone's worries, then you can call that day a success. It was well spent. And get this, the bar isn't super high. It's all about one small, meaningful human connection. But then comes the flip side, the warning. She says if you go through the entire day and you haven't cheered up a single person, haven't done one thing you can point to that brought a little happiness to someone else, not even one tiny little act, then that day is worse than lost. Wow, that's a pretty powerful and uncompromising way to put it.
So, you see the choice she's laying out for us, right? It's crystal clear. On one side, you've got a day that's defined by a simple act of goodness. And on the other, a day of just missed opportunities. A day where kindness could have existed, but didn't. Seeing them side by side like this makes the contrast impossible to miss.
Now, to make her message really hit home, Eliot uses this beautiful and incredibly effective literary tool. She keeps coming back to one central image that just perfectly captures the feeling of kindness and the effect it has on people.
First up, she uses a simile. You probably remember this from English class, right? It's just a comparison between two things using the words like or as. And here it is. A kind look is like sunshine. Isn't that a great way to put it? It's not just a nice gesture. It brings a feeling of actual warmth, of life, of pure positive energy. You can almost feel it on your skin when you read that line.
All right, next she uses a metaphor. This one's a bit more direct. It's not saying something is like another thing, it's saying it is another thing.
See how the idea is building here? Now, sunshine isn't just something kindness is like. It's what kindness is. A good deed literally brings the sunshine to a person's face. It creates real happiness, real joy, a visible brightness. It turns an abstract feeling into something you can actually see.
So, as we bring this all together, the poem delivers its final judgment, its core instruction for how we ought to be measuring our own lives, one day at a time.
And the key is hidden right there in the title, in the word count. It's so clever because it has a double meaning. First, it means you should literally count your good deeds, like you're taking inventory at the end of the day. But second, Based on that inventory, you then count the day as worthy or worthless. You're judging its ultimate value. It's both an accounting and a verdict.
And that verdict can be pretty harsh. Why worse than lost? Well, think about it. A lost day is just empty, right? A blank space. But this is different. This is a day where a golden opportunity to connect with someone, to help, to be human, was right there, and it was just ignored. It's a failure of an action.
But here's the most beautiful and, I think, the most empowering part of this entire poem. It only takes one. One small act, one kind glance, one thing that, as she says, nothing cost. You don't need a ton of money or to make some grand gesture. The power to live a well-spent day is available to every single one of us every single day.
So, in the end, this isn't just some old piece of literature. The poem leaves us with a direct, personal challenge. It's a question for right now, for today. At the end of the day, when the sun sets, what's your count going to be?